Okay, so we are recording now, and so here's our schedule. And the assignment list, all the assignments throughout the semester, these are both at the bottom of Module 0. If you click on this brings teaching schedule, it brings it up. By the way, if you want to print it out, it's recommended that you download it first and then hit the print button. It'll print you much better quality than if you just hit print and get portions of it in here. But let's look at the schedule for the first couple weeks. Today we're going to be covering 2.6 and 2.7. You're not going to be turning in 2.6 and 2.7 until a week from today. But it doesn't mean that you get to wait until a week from today to start doing 2.6 and 2.7. Notice Thursday, 2 days from now, you have a spot check on 2.6 and 2.7. So what does it mean that there's a spot check? It means you have to have at least 75% of each of those sections done and uploaded into the spot check of 2.6 and 2.7. Now, then when it's due on Tuesday, you can upload again when it's totally complete. So, what happens for most students is I'll give the assignment today, 2.6, 2.7. They'll work on it, and before we meet on Thursday, due at 12:30 on Thursday, they'll have uploaded the 2.6 and 2.7 spot check. Then questions will get asked about 2.6 and 2.7. You'll get some additional clarification, some of the harder ones that you were wondering about and you had questions yourself. You'll get, yeah, I think I get it now. And then you'll be able to go back and really complete the 2.6, 2.7 assignment. And then by next Tuesday, the 26th, you'll be able to upload that to turn that in. There are a few students, though, who wind up, don't like to upload very much and would rather just upload one time. And they will do the whole 2.6 and 2.7, have everything totally complete, and upload it in for the spot check. And then when we go over questions and stuff, that they had it all right, and so they're not changing anything. And if that's the case for you, then you don't need to upload again into the 2.6 and 2.7 assignment. If there's nothing uploaded for the 2.6 and 2.7 assignment, then myself or my grader will look at the 2.6, 2.7 spot check, and we'll just grade that as the final version. So if you want to save yourself some time of not having to upload twice, you could do that. By the way, if you get the Canvas app on your phone, if you're taking pictures from your phone, it goes very quick to upload from there, because then there's no transferring pictures to a computer and stuff, which is usually the time delay. Also, if you're taking pictures with your phone, please get a scanning app. Then you can, even if the homework was 7 pages and you had 7 different pictures, a scanning app will combine it into one document, and it'll be much nicer looking for you and for me if you upload with a scanning app. And I put some information on that in an announcement. You can look there. All right. Any questions at this point? Okay. And all right. Okay. So also I wanted to show in these modules, there's the free Microsoft Office. Being an SFCC student entitles you to get Microsoft Office for free. And you can download that, and it will be really handy because we will be using this software called OneNote. And if you read the first announcement, it tells you about OneNote, and this is what OneNote looks like. And you can, what I would suggest is, so Microsoft OneNote is part of the Microsoft Office package. If you don't have Microsoft Office on your computer, download it, and then open up OneNote in there, and then use that link that I provided so that you can have access to this. And what I would suggest is that you open up OneNote every day before class. Because when I show OneNote, and most of the class, most of the time I'll be on this screen in OneNote, and I'll be scrolling down through this stuff. And there'll be times when, you know, you're still working on a problem and I've scrolled down and you can't see this anymore. And you're going to say, God damn it, I wish you would have kept the screen up there. And well, if you've already got OneNote opened on a separate window, you can then go to that and scroll up to see the portion that I just scrolled away from. So you can have some more control during class time of what you're seeing. And there'll be a little bit of a delay as I write in OneNote and what you're going to see on your version of OneNote. But it's usually pretty quick, you know, within 30 seconds or so it updates. Okay. Another thing, let's go to the groups in Discord. So, I want you to look at this and see what group you are in. And you may be a group leader, if it says group leader to the left of your name. Or you may be the backup for the group leader. And, alright, has everybody taken note of what group you are in? Alright, so now let's go to Discord. And I'm going to want everybody to go into your group. So you see with the text channels right above them. So if I click on group 1, that's your group. Everybody go into your group and just type in hi, you know, and it'll say who it's from as well. And so the other people in your group can see who's here today. And what I'm going to ask you to do now is go to all of the other groups that are not your group and mute the channel. So how you do that? So if I go to, so suppose I'm in group 2, so group 1 I want to mute. I aim my cursor at group 1, I right click, and then mute channel. Now when I do mute channel, do it until I turn it back on. You'll turn it off for the whole semester. So you're going to mute the other 3 channels that you are not a part of. And what will happen then is when you're like in class, you'll get a little notification when somebody in your group has sent a message. And that's good. You want to be messaging each other during class, but just within your group. You don't want to be bothered by all the little notifications for anybody in any group messaging during class. And that also gives every group a little bit of privacy. And all right, at the beginning of each class, excuse me, I'm going to have the group leaders type in the main text channel anybody who is absent from class. So group leaders, so let's come back to this. So by the way, the group leader is going to be changing. I've put it into my version of the schedule. 1/4 of the way through the semester, the group leader and the backup are going to switch roles. And then at the halfway point in the semester, the other 2 people who were not group leaders or backups, they will become group leader and backup. And then at the 3/4 point, they will switch roles. All right, so and one thing I need to ask, is there anybody who does not have a microphone on your computer?
Yeah, Robert, I'm not in a group. I don't have my name by any.
That's Jordan, right?
Yeah, it's just giving me the various groups, but I don't have.
All right, here. You're in group 3. And you are actually the group leader in group 3. Do you see your name there?
My name's still not there, but I'll enter group 3. No,
Do you
there's
see
nothing.
Jordan Kessler on my screen? Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing your screen.
And
I'm in.
do you see on row 13, group leader, Kessler Jordan?
Yeah, hang on. Let me see. Um,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm
It
not.
won't say that you're in group 3 until after you join group 3. And
Oh,
then you have to type it in and then it'll say you're there. It's not like a breakout room that already tells you.
Ah, yes, you have to click on it. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Um, so, all right. So, group leaders, will you please write down all the group members, the names of each group member? And I'm going to ask you to, at the beginning of each class and right now, to, in the main text channel, enter in anybody who is not present today. So, absent, you'll write the word absent, colon, and then you'll give me names of anybody who is absent from your group. And that'll be a very quick way for me to check off roll. So if you could do that right now, and if everybody's there, put absent, colon, none. So every group leader, give that information. And if there's a day when the group leader is sick and they didn't attend class, something like this, then the backup is going to take that role. And at the beginning of class, they're going to be the ones who, at the beginning of class, says, who is absent? Okay. And let me get to the main text channel. Okay. Nikki, you couldn't see. Brianna, you're having issues setting up your mic. Alright, let me see if Brianna is a group leader. No, you're backup. You're okay for now. And Brianna, let me know by next time if you're still having difficulty setting up your mic. And alright. And okay, all the group leaders report in the general text channel who is absent. So Garcia, Aiden Garcia says everybody is here. That's great. And the other, what I'm going to have you do as well is let me go back to here, the group leaders. All right, so each day there's going to be a group spokesman for the class. And we are going to go alphabetical order by a first name. Okay, so the group leader is the alphabetically, because these names are in alphabetical order by first name. So the group leader is going to be the spokesman for today. And then the next time we meet, the next person on the list is going to be the group leader. So, so let's look at group 1 for a moment. Sasha is the spokesman for today. Oh, hold it. No, alphabetical order by first name. So Brianna is going to be the spokesman for today. But Brianna is having trouble with her microphone, so then Sasha is going to say, all right, Elliot is going to be the group spokesman for today. Now, it's the group leader's task at the beginning of each class to state who is the group spokesman that day. It'll rotate in alphabetical order by first name. So, in group 2, alphabetical order by first name, like Aiden would come first, and then tomorrow Annika would be the group spokesman, and then Destiny would be the group spokesman the next day, and then Ian the next day would be the group spokesman. People are going to forget who is the spokesman, so that's why that's a group leader's important job is to keep track of that and to say who is the group spokesman at the beginning of each day. And if you ever forget, who did it last time, it's not a big deal, as long as it gets rotated so that each person takes a turn being group spokesman. And, all right, any questions? All right, so I want to get feedback from all the group leaders. I only got it from Aiden. Give me absent, colon, and then type in who in your group is absent. So Sasha and Destiny and Mushi, you could all
I'm in Aiden's group,
and who are you?
Destiny. So I'm not a group leader.
Okay, great. Okay, and okay. Oh, Mushi absent. Okay, thank you. I just didn't see it. All right, and so let's. I think I've gone through the basics, and let's get started on the first lesson. All right, great. So we will start each day with a practice quiz, and so let me put problem 1, A through D. Write down your answers to A through D, and practice quizzes will be, I want you to take them as if they're a real quiz. So don't use your textbook, don't look up things in notes or anything like this, but they don't count. I'll ask for feedback when we're done, but it's just for your information. So let me give everybody a minute to get answers for A, B, C, and D. We're starting in Chapter 2, Absolute Value, Equations and Inequalities, and I just want to make sure we understand the basics before we jump into this section. And 30 seconds more.
Sorry,
Yes.
posting the answers?
Pardon?
Where are we posting the answers?
No, just work them out on paper and pencil just right in front
Oh,
of you.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Good question. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the answers to each one of these, and you can see whether you got them right or wrong. So the absolute value of -4 is +4. The definition of the absolute value, by the way, is the distance from 0 on the number line. And how far away is this from 0 on the number line? It's 4 units away from it. And how far is this from 0? So the absolute value is distance from 0 on the number line. Alright, now absolute value of 5 is equal to 5. When we say it's a distance, what that implies is you always get a positive answer. Nobody ever says, I live -3 miles from work. We always report distances as positive numbers. Notice, when the input was a negative number, absolute value didn't really, absolute value chopped off the negative sign. When the input was a positive number, absolute value didn't do anything. It just left the number the way it was. Alright, so 4 and 5. Now, absolute value of x and absolute value of negative x, shouldn't they work pretty much like this, where this is just x and this is just positive x, where we just get x and x? So I'm going to ask, does everybody agree with me that we get x and x on C and D? Or is there anybody who disagrees? If you disagree, you can speak up. Nobody disagrees? Everybody agrees? All right, well, we're all wrong then.
Wait, x can't be simplified to x. It has to stay the absolute value of x.
Ah, why can't
And
it simplify?
negative
Why can't
absolute,
it be just x?
because you don't know the distance from where it is.
For instance, if x is -4, then we'd be saying the absolute value of -4 is -4. Because that x could have been -4, and then we'd have it wrong right over here because we'd be putting -4 again. X itself might be negative. All right, so these things, what we have here, are wrong. It's natural to want to put them like this, but they're wrong. Let me fix it. So, what it should be is this. Absolute value of x doesn't do anything. It's x itself if x is less than or equal to 0. No. If x is greater than or equal to 0. If x was like 5, then the absolute value of x is x. Now, the absolute value of x is negative x if x is less than 0. Now, this looks confusing because you'd say, hold it, it has to be a positive answer. How can it be negative? But this actually will be the first half of a double negative. That will be part of a double negative. And the negative of a negative makes it positive. So if x was a number like -4, then negative of -4 is positive 4. So if you're, one way we could write it is just keep the absolute value. But if you're trying to get rid of the absolute value to kind of define what it means, you'd have to write it with either a negative or not using a negative. And you only use an extra negative if the original x was negative. All right, and let's get rid of this one. This is good enough. If we can understand this, That's what I'm after. So I only put this in here to kind of trick us because it was kind of natural to want to put X and X for both of those. All right, so will everybody now go to the Discord main text channel and give me some feedback on practice quiz problem number 1. Whatever feedback you want to give me on that. But if everybody could give me some kind of feedback. Okay, give me a few words with your feedback. It can be whatever you want. Let's come back. So, number 2. I want you to solve these 2 inequalities. So I'm going to give you a minute to do those. Okay, and if you're having a problem just getting moving on these because you can't remember what to do, try solving it just like you would solve an equation.
Robert, do you want this in a mixed number format, or do you want this just a top-heavy fraction? Because I
Good
know.
question. Either way is fine.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Okay, 30 seconds more. Okay, let me have you stop. All right, and again, I want to emphasize that you have access to this OneNote stuff outside of class anytime. So if ever like you're having trouble keeping up with your notes, you can say, "Oh, I can get that later." You know, so it'll be more important than writing everything down is making sure that you understand everything. And if you ever have a conflict, like, do I write it down or do I make sure I understand it? You can just make sure that you understand it. And (3x) is less than 19, and then we'll divide by 3, and you could leave your answer in either format. X is less than, but one of the common things that we do is put this answer like on a number line. And I have a feel for it a little bit better if I turn it into a mixed number. So for me, I'd rather have it as 6 1/3. But 19/3 would not be wrong. All right. So there is the solution. All numbers smaller than 6 1/3 are solutions of that inequality. Okay. And you could graph it on a number line. If you had 0 here and 6 1/3 here, then it would be open circle and everything to the left shaded. Yeah. Now, when you're doing this one, there's a particular rule when solving inequalities. And the rule is, when you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, here we're dividing both sides by a negative 2, then you must reverse the inequality. So it may be a while since you've had that rule. X, now the next time I write it, I point it in the other direction. X is greater than or equal to negative 4. And if I graph that, it would be something like this. And I could have filled in circle and everything to the right shaded like this. Okay, and that's A and B. And now on number 2, I'm going to ask you to do number 3. Solve this inequality, but as your first step, add 2x to both sides. So go ahead. Okay, 30 seconds more. All right, I'm going to add 2x. Now notice, when we added 2x to both sides, the arrow was kind of pointed at the x. But since I added 2x, I moved it to the right, and now the arrow is kind of pointing away from the x. And this gives us an insight into why this other rule was the case. Why it was the case that when you divided both sides by a negative number, or if you multiply both sides by a negative number, why you have to flip the inequality. We've essentially flipped the inequality by moving the x to the other side. Here. Now what I get is negative 4 is less than or equal to x. I divided both sides by a positive number so I don't reverse the inequality. I never give a solution like this. If somebody says, I'm thinking of a number and negative 4 is less than or equal to that number, I can't tell what they're saying. But if I see it with x leading off, I'm thinking of a number and that number is greater than or equal to negative 4, I can immediately tell what they're saying. Inequalities are much easier to understand if they start with the variable. And so that's my solution, like this. Alright, so if everybody can go into the main chat in Discord and give me some feedback on numbers 2 and 3. And a little extra information is appreciated if there are some parts of it that you found more informative than others or anything. Well, that's good. Alright. And alright. We have finished with the practice quiz. We're going to start on this section and we're going to take a break right now. We'll take a 15-minute break each day. We'll go to approximately 1:15 and then take a break. So we're going to start again at 1. Alright. if I add 15 minutes to that, 1:34 p.m. promptly is when I'll start again. So have yourself a break. And is there anybody that needs to talk to me individually, wants to talk about any issues before I take my break?
Can you show us again how to download the textbook?
The textbook? Yes.
Because I tried. Yeah, I tried, but it's not downloading. I think I did it wrong or something.
Okay, so are you at this page right here?
Try to get it back
Let
where
me
there.
start over with this. OpenStax.org. All right. Once you go to OpenStax.org, go to Subjects, Math, and then scroll down and you'll see our textbook is this red one, Algebra and Trigonometry. Click on that. And then your options for viewing the textbook. You can view online or you can download a PDF. I suggest the download a PDF, but the view online, let's look at that. If I clicked on that,
One cool thing about it, Robert, you can actually go through the contents and go to the particular chapter if you see it on. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that was something I watched.
you know what? You were a little bit garbled from the connection.
Really? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, say
Can
it
you hear me?
again, what you were saying.
Okay, if you go to the online site, like through the link, right, then you can
Because
actually.
I
Yeah,
clicked download, but it doesn't download. It just takes me to another website. I'm not sure why.
This one that says download a PDF, it's taking you to another website?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay.
yeah. So you
Go ahead, Jordan.
could just go to the online site, and sometimes because, like, if you see that, it has a table of contents and everything. So then you can open up multiple windows. Like you can have a window open for the answers. You can have a window open for the particular section you're in. So I found that easier last time, but we were using the same book. So let's just.
Isn't that nice? Yes, have multiple windows and the answers and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then
there's an
totally.
answer key over here, and you can look at there.
It just made it easier for me. I don't know.
Yeah, and then you can click on the sections over here. This is viewing it online. So here's another option, view it online. And it's kind of like one section at a time. And then it gives you all the problems. And if it still isn't working for you, try a different browser. Once in a while, it's a browser issue. And who is that's having some difficulty with getting the textbook? What's your name?
I already had it from last semester, but I thought we were going to use another one.
Oh,
so
it's
I
the
deleted it
same
from.
exact book.
Yeah, and I deleted it from my computer, and I thought we were going to use a different one, so I deleted
Okay.
it. So now I re-download it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you have experience. And who are you?
Sasha?
Sasha. Okay. Hey, good to have you back again, Sasha.
Thank you, you too.
Everybody's present in my group. I put it in the general. Everybody's here.
All right, great. I think everybody's here today. All right, if there's not any other questions, I'm going to take my break now. Okay, let's get started up again. And we're going to Introduction to Absolute Value Equations and Inequalities. So, in college algebra, there were a number of topics that kind of, were left out. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing in Pre-Calculus and Trig is kind of the first half of the course. We're going to go and pick up those left out algebra topics. And then in the second half of the course, we're going to focus on trigonometry with angles, right triangles. And so we start out with absolute value equations. And number 1, a length of rope was supposed to be cut. Let me zoom in a bit. 16 inches long. The error was 0.5 inches. How long was the cut rope? So, what I'm going to ask you each to do now is take a minute to think about this and don't type in anything for about a minute. And after a minute or so, I'm going to have you in your group chat, you're going to type in what you think for this. And what I'm going to ask is, again, for full participation in this. So if you have, like if you're just stuck and you have no ideas, I want you to write that in. No ideas, or I'm stuck. But I want everybody to put in something into their group chat. And again, this is part of what I expect is full participation in each problem. And so I will reserve the right to, afterwards check in the individual groups, and I'll be looking for things like, yes, even if you couldn't come up with it, were you typing in, I'm stuck or something. I want you to give your group some kind of feedback on this. And if you can take some kind of wild guess, even if it's a wild guess, well, that's really good. We're really going to value guesses in here, and whether they're really far off or not doesn't really matter, but they're a starting point. So in just a minute I'm going to have you start typing in your group chat, but for right now just think about this. Okay, go ahead and enter your answer into your group chat. And you can chat it out for a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to ask for group 1, what was your answer on this? And so the spokesman for today, for the group 1, should come on and state, and they're not necessarily stating what their answer is. You can state, well, 2 or 3 answers were given, or, however this person wants to state the answers. Go ahead, group 1.
Everyone agreed with 17.5.
Error was, how long was the cut rope? 17.5 inches. Okay, great. Did anybody come up with any answer besides 17.5?
We got 17.5 too. I didn't get it, but some smart people.
Some
in the
other
class.
people were saying it. Anybody else give any other answer? Is that the only answer?
18.52, I believe.
There's actually two.
Annika got that. She got 18.5 or 17.5. So
Great.
she's super smart.
All right. So the error could have been in either direction. It could have been half an inch too short or half an inch too long. So that's why my first instinct too would have probably been just to give one answer. But when we really look at it closely, we see the error can be in either direction. All right, let's go to number 2. A length of rope was supposed to be cut 18 inches long. If the allowed error is 0.3 inches, then what are all the acceptable lengths of the rope? Use the variable x to represent the actual length of the cut rope. So again, I'm going to give you a minute to think about it. And then go ahead and put it into, sorry. Can't even stop it. Sorry for the interruption there. I had my phone ready in case people were having difficulties getting on Discord on the first day here. All right, go ahead and enter your answer now into your group chat. Okay, and by the way, every group, make sure you know who your spokesman for the day is. The group leader should have specified who, and if it haven't done that yet, do it real quick right now. Who the spokesman of the day is, and then rotate it by alphabetical order by first name each day, or any rotation scheme you want. But all right, so let's go to group 4. What do you have for number 2?
We have either 17.7 or 18.3.
17.
And well, okay, hold on. We have, sorry, one second. I'm really tired.
I like 17.7 and 18.3. It's a great start.
Hi, so for group 4, our answer would be 17.7 is less than or equal to x, which is, I think that one, wait. Oh yeah, less than or equal to 18.3.
Okay, because you could also have 17.8, 17.83, 17.994, all kinds of things between 17.7 and 18.3.
Yeah, that's what I was going at. I just wasn't sure how to phrase it. Sorry.
That's great. Anything that kind of moves us in that direction is how we'd start. I probably wouldn't come up with this right away, but maybe these numbers would come to my mind at first, and then I had to play with them for a while before I could actually come up with some kind of phrase like this. X is, do we get the inequality stuck in between here and here? Okay. All right, now let's go the next one, number 3. Now, I don't want you to use any fancy algebra that you don't yet know, but just look at number 3 and see if you can figure out what the solutions of that equation might be. We don't really know a process to use, but maybe you can just look at it and figure out, oh, I think the answer is this. So I'm going to give you a minute. Think about it. Don't type anything yet into your group chat. Give everybody a chance to think about it first. Okay, I think somebody's got their microphone open. I'm hearing some noise. So you can check your microphone. I can also mute folks over here. All right, I think we're good. Okay, go ahead and enter your guesses into your group chat for number 3. Okay, and group 2. What do you have for that?
We got 18.5 and 17.5.
And if I check my answer on both of those, let me put 18.5 in there. I'm going to wind up getting the absolute value of 0.5 is 0.5. And if I put 17.5 in there, I'm going to get the absolute value of negative 0.5 is 0.5. Both of them check. So this equation must have been somehow related to problem number 1, because these are the 2 answers for problem number 1. All right. Now, number 4. Let's go to that one. Find both solutions of that by just guessing and testing. Guess an answer, check it out, test it. And notice I said both solutions because the one up above it had 2 solutions, so I'm just kind of guessing that this might have 2 solutions as well.
We got 2 right
Yes.
on the previous one. I got it. A few other people did. Yeah, I had
Got the same thing? Okay, great.
I'd made a mistake of just seeing it like a regular equation and hadn't seen that, because I remember when I went over it, it kind of branches off into 2 separate equations.
That's what we're going to be seeing, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd seen that. And I suck at word problems, so it took me a minute. I hate word. You have to like look at them, and I hate that. So yeah.
Okay.
Don't give me any of those on the test. I'm just.
Of course not. Wouldn't dare. All right. So go ahead on number 4. Put your guesses for your answers into your group chat. All right, group 3, what do you have for number 4? And you could always say pass if you don't have any guesses or any answers.
Group 3?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Monica got 5 and negative 4. I'm trying to see. I was just getting 1. I mean, I thought there were 2, but then I was seeing that it was 5.
All All right,
If-
x equals 5.
Yeah.
Now 5 would be the one that I would find first, because when you check that, you're going to get 10 minus 1, which is 9.
Okay.
And then the negative 4 is the tricky one, because you're going to get negative 8 minus 1, which is negative 9. When you check both of these, one of them, this goes way back to the practice quiz. Absolute value sometimes does something. It knocks off a negative sign. Sometimes absolute value doesn't do anything at all, because if the input's positive, then the output just stays exactly the way it was. All right. So in both of these, it's why you're going to get two solutions here. Is absolute value equations give you one solution, which is when the absolute value doesn't really do anything. When you plug in negative 5, positive 5 in there, you're going to get absolute value of 9 equals 9, check. When you plug in negative 4, you'll get absolute value of negative 9 equals 9, check. And one time, the absolute value doesn't do anything. The other time, the absolute value is knocking off the negative sign. And that's why we're getting two solutions. Okay, number 5 says, notice there are two solutions of the previous equation. We'll come up with a list of steps to follow to solve this absolute value equation. This list of steps can be generalized to become a procedure to solve any absolute value equation. So together we're going to come up with this list of steps. Right. So we know that an absolute value equation is going to lead to two solutions. All right. So we're going to do part A. We're going to form two equations. By step 1, we're going to remove the absolute value sign. Remove the absolute value signs. So we're going to take 2x, and the way I'm going to show it is kind of like this over here. We have the absolute value of 2x minus 1 equals 9. One equation is going to come from it by simply removing the absolute value signs. Now, this is going to give us the solution where the absolute value didn't actually do anything. Like the absolute value of 9 doesn't knock off a negative sign or anything. Okay? And then the other possibility is number 2. And I think somebody's not muted again. So if you can check, it's hard to go back and forth between muting and unmuting when you're talking. All right, let's go into part 2. Remove absolute value signs and negate the right-hand side. And I'll use a shortcut in the future, RHS for right-hand side. All right. Now this is going to be this one. We're going to remove the absolute value signs. And then we're going to write what was on the right, but we're also going to negate it. Like this. All right. So this way of thinking, I can kind of see it most clearly if I look at it like this. I circle what's inside the absolute value. And I say, when x is a number and I'm checking my work, when I plug that number in for x and plug it in here, I resolve this down to a number. Now the number that it resolves down to has two choices. It could have been 9, or it could have been negative 9. In the first case, the absolute value doesn't really do anything, because the absolute value of 9 is 9. In the second case, the absolute value of negative 9 knocks off the negative sign and gives me the positive 9. So one absolute value equation leads to two non-absolute value equations. And then part B, we solve both equations.
So Robert, what you're looking at is like you're going to have one solution. I mean, it's going to be 9 and negative 9, so a positive and also a negative, right?
That's right.
Is it from
One
the
time
absolute?
you're going to get a positive, and one time you're going to get a negative. 2x is 10, x is 5. 2x is negative 8, divide by 2. X is negative 4. You're going to get the two solutions. We had already come up with these by just kind of guessing and testing. But this is now a procedure that we can follow to solve any absolute value equation. Any questions? All right. So I'm going to have you do number 6 and do it with these two arrows coming out of it, leading to the two equations, and then solve them. And then after you do number 6, you can follow the directions and do number 7. So let me give you a minute or two for both of those problems, and then I'll show how those get worked out as well. Okay, in 30 seconds I'm going to work through number 6. Okay, so I'm thinking when this is resolved down to a number, after we're checking our work, putting x in as a number, that number that we resolve it down to had to have been either 8 or negative 8. And then I'm going to solve each equation. Those are my two answers to solve an absolute value equation. Now, where do absolute value equations come from? They really, one of the most common places they come from is error analysis. When we say, like a rope was supposed to be, but the error resists, the error could have been on either side. That's why we say that then the equation related to that is, what's that? Supposed to be cut 18 inches, absolute value of x minus 18. X minus 18 is the error. It's supposed to be 18 inches, but it was actually cut to be x inches. But the could have been too long or too short, so we put absolute value. The magnitude of the error can be at most 5, or it must be 5 in that case. All right, so on number 7, let me give you just a little bit of time if you haven't already done number 7. I'll do that one in a moment. Okay, 15 seconds more. Okay. So the first thing we do is we isolate the absolute value. Oops. And once I have it isolated, then I'm going to do branch into 2 steps. Get 2 separate equations. And then I'll solve each. That's my answer. 2, we'll put a comma in between them. 2 solutions for these absolute value equations. And
So
yes.
I'm sorry. Are you just the only thing we're looking at is the isolated absolute value? What about the other numerals in there, integers, whatever? You just ignore them. Or the 3 and the 1.
The 3 and the minus 1. What we
Yeah.
have to do is we have to get rid of them first before
Okay.
we branch off into those 2 arrows.
All right.
And the way I got rid of them was just add them to both sides and then divide both sides. You know, isolate the absolute value first, and then
Okay. Right on. Perfect. Okay.
Good clarification. Thanks for pointing that out, Jordan. Any other questions? All right. Now, by the way, I want to point out something. There are some crazy problems you're going to see in the homework. And if you just follow the procedure, you'll get them wrong. Absolute value of x is equal to -3. This is impossible. When you take the absolute value of a variable, of any number, you always get a positive result. This has no solution. But if you just followed the procedure, you would get this, and you'd get 2 answers, x equals 3 and x equals -3. But the real answer is no solution. So this is all wrong. There's no solution. So the procedure can fail you on this. You have to, more important than that, is looking at the big picture and saying, does this problem even make sense? Oh, when I take the absolute value, I'm going to get something positive, not negative. And the procedure won't realize that, oh, this problem didn't make sense. It'll still try to give you 2 answers. All right. Now, we're going to go to absolute value inequalities. Now, because of today was an introduction and we had a lot of groundwork to go through, we're not going to finish all this today. So I won't have you, I'll have you at least do the 2.6, the absolute value equations. And then 2.7, which is the inequalities, we'll finish that up on Thursday. Okay. So the spot check, I'll modify that online. So the spot check is for 2.7, won't be due on Thursday. All right. So now absolute value inequalities. Number 1, circle each of the following numbers that are solutions of 3x is greater than 12. Well, I'm going to look through these. And I'm going to say, all right, instead of circling them, I'm going to underline them. Let's put 2 in there. If I put 2 in there, do I get a true statement? Well, if I put 2 in there, I'm going to get 6 is greater than 12. Oh, that's false. So remember what it means to be a solution of something. 3x equals 15. X equals 5 is a solution because when you substitute it in, it causes 15 equals 15 to be a true statement. Cause it to be a true statement. X equals 4 is not a solution because if you substitute it in, you get 12 equal to 15, which is a false statement. So we'd say that's not a solution. All right, so over here, when we substitute this, we get 6 greater than 12, not true. If I substitute a 3 in there, I get 9 greater than 12. 9 is not greater than 12. If I substitute 3.9 in there, well, let's skip 3.9 a second. Let's substitute 4 in there. 12, is 12 greater than 12? Nope. Greater than or equal to, it would be a true statement. So it's not. And when I substitute 3.9, I'm going to get a number a little bit smaller than 12. So that also is not a solution. When I substitute 4.1, I'm going to get, well, 4.1 times 3 is 12.3. 12.3 is greater than 12, so that's a solution. Substitute 5 in there. 5 times 3 is 15, that's greater than 12, that's a solution. Any questions? Okay, so we're seeing any inequality, we can just solve it in a very, very slow way by just checking a whole bunch of points. All right, it's not the efficient way. It would be much faster to divide both sides by 3 to solve this inequality and say the answer is x greater than 4. But I could do it this way. All right, the reason why I wanted to show you this way is because that way is very informative when you have absolute value inequalities. Circle each of the following numbers that are solutions of absolute value of x is greater than 3. Let's plug in 5. If I plug in 5, I'm going to get the absolute value of 5 greater than or equal to 3, and that's true. So that's a solution. Let's plug in 4. I get the absolute value of 4. Well, absolute value of 4 is 4, and that's greater than or equal to 3. That's true. Let's put in 3. Absolute value of 3 is 3, and that's greater than or equal to 3. That's also true. Let's put in 2. The absolute value of 2, is that greater than or equal to 3? Well, the absolute value of 2 is positive 2, and this is false. So I don't circle that one. If I do negative 2, is that greater than or equal to 3? Now the absolute value of that is positive 2, and that's not larger than 3, so that's false. The absolute value of negative 3, is that greater than or equal to 3? Well, the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. 3 is greater than or equal to 3, that's true. So that's a solution. If I do absolute value negative 4, yup, that's true, because that's positive 4. And if I do absolute value negative 5, that's also true. Alright, notice, as long as the numbers were kind of large, didn't matter whether they were positive or negative. Positive or negative doesn't matter at all, because the negative sign is just going to get eliminated by the absolute value. But the size of the number makes all the difference. The size of that number has got to be bigger than or equal to 3. In other words, Absolute value of x greater than or equal to 3 means all the numbers on the number line whose distance from the origin is larger than or equal to 3. All the numbers in between negative 3 and 3, their distance from the origin is not greater than or equal to 3. But all the numbers outside that these are the solutions over here and here. Okay, so verbally, we'd say the verbal solution, all numbers greater than or equal to 3, along with all the numbers smaller than or equal to negative 3. All the numbers here are solutions and all the numbers over here. Now, one symbolic way to state the solution is, notice this keyword is or. And it is not the keyword and. If you put the word and in there, it would be wrong. It has to be the word or. X can be to the right of 3 or to the left of negative 3. If it had to be this and this at the same time, there's no number that is both to the right of this and to the left of that at the same time. It's just or. Okay, and then in interval notation, this is the interval from negative infinity to negative, oops, it's supposed to be a negative sign right there, to negative 3. Let me actually type it in.
It took me a minute to figure that out last time, and then I looked on the back of the infinity car, and I was like, oh, I was like,
Yes,
that means infinity. I was like, what the hell is it?
the sideways 8, yeah. Right. All right, so from negative infinity to negative 3, union. So U is the symbol we use when we mean or, but when we are using interval notation. Union 3 to infinity. And then another way to display the answer is on the number line, which is right here. We've already displayed it. So look at how an inequality, all the different ways to state the solution. Verbally, symbolically, interval notation, and a number line. Okay. Now, when we had absolute value is greater than a number, notice how we get two regions, a far left and a far right. And that's going to change radically with this one. So, number 3, circle each of the following numbers that are solutions of absolute value of x is less than 2. So I'm going to give you a minute to figure that out on your own. So just work on your own and figure out which of those numbers should get circled. So this is saying that the distance from 0 on the number line is less than or equal to 2. Now, if we viewed it on the number line, 0, 2, there's negative 2, that everything in between here and here. And we fill in those circles. Everything from here to here. And it would circle all of these. All of those are solutions, and if you plug in one of these, like -4, you get +4 when you take its absolute value, and +4 is not less than or equal to 2. So those would be false. All right, and we are going to stop here. We're out of time. So the homework, it says that today's homework is 2.6 and 2.7. We only got partway through 2.7. So on Thursday, we're going to finish up 2.7, and we're going to do the next section. So we'll be caught up to our schedule on Thursday. But today, you only have to do the 2.6 assignment. And if you're in the modules, it shows spot check 2.6 and 2.7, absolute value equations, inequalities. If I click on that, okay.
There is a submission point for spot check. Okay, cool. Right on.
Yep. So you can submit for the spot check, and you only have to have the 2.6 in for Thursday, and then and that'll give you full credit for the spot check, and then we'll finish up the 2.7 in class on Thursday. Anybody have any questions? All right, we will stop here, and I will see you all on Thursday.
We have just 2.6 homework, right? Not 2.7?
Correct.
Sorry.
Just the 2.6 since we didn't finish 2.7.
Thank you.
I just saw that thing how you can hit the positive on the chats, and then it'll bring up the rest of your that's cool. The addition widget, and then you can bring up the rest of your stuff like automatically on the computer. That's awesome. I just noticed that.
Where is this
That's
at
cool.
that you're talking about?
If you go to the text, if you go to the area where there's a text, there's a plus sign, right? And then you click that, and you could bring up Canvas and everything else from that. I just saw that on there. So like you could bring up your downloads and all that stuff and everything, and it's
From
kind
what
of
screen?
from the text area, either on general or on
OneNote?
no on Discord actually, and you can
Okay.
yeah, you can press that plus symbol, and then you get all your downloads and all your stuff
Right.
and all.
Yeah, this
like,
little plus symbol right here brings you. You can put anything into Discord. Yep.
Okay, cool. Right on. Now that I see that, okay, that makes it easier. All right. Okay, Robert, have a great rest of your week. This works out pretty well here.
It's kind of nice. All right, and
Yeah.
next time I am going to give each group a assignment to work on in their group outside of class. We'll start that very next time that we meet. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Okay, take it easy. It's gonna snow.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.